Hello and welcome to Inside Evo. The purpose of Inside Evo is frequently to make the most of perhaps a little bit of footage that we've got that's not good enough to make a full-blown video, but is too good equally to leave languishing on my laptop to be seen only by me. So this time I want to talk about the 911 GT1 that I got to drive in issue 192 of Evo. It's a car that I remember I was probably, 14 or 15, I suppose, when the car came out. And it was therefore always sort of set in my mind as one of those that I wanted to drive one day. I thought it was pretty unlikely because they're obviously extremely rare. The 96 cars, there were two road car versions of those. Then the 97 car, there were 20 road car versions of that. And then the 98 car, there was only one version of that. The car I got to drive was a 96 car, so that's based on a 993. I think it's prettiest of all the 911 GT1s. I think it's probably the one that was actually in the very first issue of Evo that Alan Nish drove with Dickie Meaden sitting in the passenger seat. So that was quite nice. It's now got a Warsteiner livery on it, which the current owner has put on it, which is an exact replica, in fact done by the very same people that did the original, which is a replica of the car that raced for the very first time at Brands Hatch back in 1996. I drove it around the Porsche Experience Centre over at Silverstone. It's sort of designed to replicate a country road. Anyway, we took the rear clamshell off, or tilted it back. You have to undo a couple of bolts and then you slide it back and then tilt it up. It was really windy the day we had, so I was terrified that the sort of gust of wind was going to come around and just whip the whole sort of thing off, especially as we'd insured it for $1.5 million, the whole car, not just the rear clamshell. And it's amazing looking underneath because although it's called a 911 GT1, of course the engine is very much in front of the rear axle. This is also the first time that they'd actually water-cooled the whole engine, and it's amazing. I got in, you get in over the roll cage and it feels really, really small inside. I'm obviously tall, I'm 6'5"-ish, but I did just about fit, but it all feels very familiar, sort of 911, obviously familiar 993. All you've got is the little indent in the top of the windscreen where the air scoop comes in. Pedals extremely heavy, clutch, but I sort of got used to just bringing it up and just trying to keep the revs steady as you pull away, and there's a bit of judder, but it's actually fine. And once you're up and running, you don't really tend to notice how heavy the clutch is. Gearbox is beautiful. You've got the bar that runs back through the bulkhead immediately behind you, and the gear shift is absolutely beautiful. The steering was just amazing. It's got a ridiculous amount of power for the weight. It weighs 1,120 kilos. It's got a greater power to weight ratio than GT2 RS, which gives you some idea. When the boost comes in at 4,000 RPM, it's actually very drivable sort of below that as well, which is nice. But when the boost comes in at 4,000 RPM, it is just incredible. It just takes off. You get the proper surge and it will rev all the way to 8,000 RPM. And the feedback through all the controls, particularly the steering, was just absolutely sublime. We come to expect it from Porsches, but for some reason, because it's so, it's effectively the inconvenient bastard child of a race program, so you don't think cars like that are necessarily going to be brilliant to drive and just enjoy. They're built for speed, not for driver involvement particularly. But it was incredible, and I just wanted to keep driving and driving and driving in it. So there we go. I know the GoPro footage isn't the best. Apologies for that. I'm sorry we couldn't do more on the day to make a video out of this, but hopefully it gives you at least just a little bit of a taste of what it's like to drive a 911 GT1. You just have to trust me that it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much indeed for watching. If you'd like to see any other Evo videos, perhaps like the 918 Spider that Richard Beeden drove in the same issue, then just click here. And as ever, if you haven't already, and if you would like to subscribe, then we'd be enormously grateful. So please click there.